Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Anything Goes with Anna Rose. I'm keeping the very special guests rolling at the moment, and it is a connection to money. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set a scene before I dive into the intro, Dee. Set it up. So obviously I have recently had the Money Experts, which is all around asset classes. Now, in that conversation, you will remember in almost every single episode, we have discussed an element of the number one asset class is self. And without working on yourself, without being the best, most vital, radiant self, nothing else matters, right? You can have 100 problems until you have a health problem, and then you have one problem. And so I had chosen to work with this brilliant, beautiful, tall, she's a tall sister, goddess recently. And the beautiful thing is I don't know if you know this, I think we discussed this, but you had come up in my For You page.
Oh.
No, you don't. Okay.
Oh, right. With my marketing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so you had come up in my, whatever that is, on Instagram,
yep.
but that page.
Great.
And it was a reel around fertility. So I have a fertility expert. Obviously, that's known because of the title. We don't, And I went on your page, spoke to me. I think it was a bit spicy. I liked the hook. It was you're probably not doing these things or something like that. And I went on your page and I looked at all your stuff and I was like, I like her. And I followed her. But let me tell you, friends, the fucking connection of this woman in my network is wild.
Yeah.
So I started working with Dee Zibara. How do you say your last name?
Zibara.
It is right. Yeah. Dee Zibara is on that podcast today. But when I started working with you and I started to tag and, just very naturally share the journey, the amount of women that follow me that are in my network were like, oh my God, she's the best, get fucked, I can't believe it.
Aww.
So welcome to the pod.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yay.
And there is a lot of synergy.
Oh, huge.
There's so many I'm like, oh, and she knows, oh, blah, blah, blah. My skin lady is your best friend's mum. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I love this.
Liz, bless her.
Oh my God, amazing. Okay, so I want to start at the top, but where I want to sort of wrap that in a bow is saying that although this is a fertility, ultimately this is a fertility, or this is why I got you one.
Yeah,
I want to share Dee is Brian and I's current fertility. I call you coach, expert.
Yeah.
And also I look at you as a hormonal expert in essence and a health expert.
Yeah.
So can I say, if you were listening to this and you're like, oh, I don't want to get pregnant, so this podcast isn't for me, that's absolutely not the truth. We're going to talk about that, but I believe what I'm learning, even from self, and I'm sure you'll blow my mind open today, but that I believe the steps we're taking through your guidance and through your program, everyone should do.
Yeah.
Regardless of baby or not, because we're 2 weeks in, I'm already feeling infinitely better. I'm feeling like my pooing is fantastic. We'll go everywhere today.
Poo and periods. All
of it.
Yeah.
But I just genuinely believe when our vessel's self is the clearest channel, then as an asset class, in essence, that is when the money comes in. That is when the success can be held. That's your capacity for everything grows. Mothering, business, relationships, sex. I know I always sorry everyone, not sorry at all, but I absolutely fuck better when I am in my body and I feel the best and I have energy and so I think it impacts every area of life.
100%. And it's funny because sometimes people think, oh, that's so random. Sometimes she talks about fertility and sometimes she talks about hormones and then sometimes she's talking about trauma and then sometimes she's talking about money mindset and business. But actually it's all interrelated because the way that I see health is financial health is part of that pie.
100%.
Hormonal health, social health, there's so many healths that come into that equation for us to be, like you said, the clearest channel. And so my job for people is, and I say this, it's to be able to thrive in business and thrive when creating a family. I actually see them so similarly. Those journeys are so similar because we're removing what isn't you, physically and non-physically. When it comes to fertility, our natural state of optimal health and thriving, that's when we're our most fertile. So everyone should be working towards becoming their most fertile, regardless of what it is that they'd like to manifest or have in their life.
Yeah. And I think for women as well, I'm actually going to get you, like, I want you to start with like your backstory.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, this is good. But I actually think with this fertility piece, I love my period. I've always had a beautiful relationship with my period. And I haven't because I had an implant on, right? And so I was 28. I'm 37 now. We know that. But at 28, I remember this is shocking, but I had not had a period in 9 years. 3, 6, 9, because you have it for 3 years. So as soon as I got it in, my period stopped. And I was like, oh, fantastic. You know, I can fuck when I want. I can blah, blah, blah. And I just remember literally waking up at 28 and going, this is so bad. Like, why? What the fuck? I need to bleed. Like, this is wrong. Something's wrong. And so I went to the doctor, got it out. I got my period the same month back. And since 28, I've, had a beautiful relationship with my period. But I know our periods for women are the most beautiful, perfect indicator of our health month to month. And it gives us so much feedback. And so when women tell me, I'm not an expert, but when I hear women go, oh my God, I'm in so much pain or I'm wiped out, I'm like, fuck girl, you got to fix, like, that's not normal, but also that you don't have to accept that standard.
100%. And I see it as such a gift. We don't have to do expensive testing to know every single month what actually is going on. Like, we have a very clear indication with our hormones and with our cycle and our period if there's something wrong, if something is off kilter. Sure, we might not know exactly what that thing is, but at least we don't have to pay for testing and go out and get testing done. Like, we see it.
Yeah, literally.
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 And we feel it,
Yeah, 100%. All right, give me the backstory. I want people, and I rarely ask this of a guest, but I love what you do. I think it's very unique. When I found you, I thought, I don't know that I've seen... I know I'm sure many out there and they're all phenomenal, but I really, really resonated with you. And it's probably that piece of you do look at the whole human. And I felt that immediately because I landed on your page and it was like fertility, a little bit of business, money mindset, trauma. And I was like, this fucking woman knows what she's doing. Yeah. So what led you to do this work? What's that story?
Well, I'll give it to you in a nutshell because I also don't like listening to people's stories, but I'll tell you what's relevant. So
beautiful.
I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it was so bad that the top gynecologist in Sydney said to me, you will not fall pregnant without IVF. At the time, I was young enough that, like, I wasn't even close to having children. But the fact that he was so sure and he was the top doctor, I was like, what do you mean? And I said to him, oh, wow, okay, it really felt like, I've always wanted to be a mum. So for me, it felt like a cancer diagnosis. Like, I remember really breaking down over it. But my question to him was, well, what can I do about that? Like, just, okay, all right, if I have to come to terms with that, that's okay. What do I do in the meantime? And he was like, well, go on the pill for now and then come back when you want to have IVF, when you want to have a baby. I was like, huh?
Can I ask how old you were?
18.
Fuck.
So I have been driven since that moment to find the answers. And I know that people might say, oh, that's really young and, don't really understand what it's like, being at like an older age. And I'm like, I am so grateful and lucky that I had that experience at 18 because I had the time to experiment, implement all of the things, study and understand myself and my body and be able to use myself as a guinea pig to be able to navigate things. And as I did it for myself, so the story goes that I got to a stage where after I had studied nutrition and I had, done a lot of like personal healing with PCOS, there is this masculine feminine imbalance and it's where you have toxic masculinity. I can almost always guarantee, and this is really simplifying it, but almost always women with PCOS have challenging relationships with their paternal influences in their life, often their fathers, sometimes their grandfathers or men in their life. And then with endometriosis, which is more the other side of the picture, because they have estrogen toxicity, they almost always have maternal issues, hard relationships with their mums. Either they had no boundaries and they were just self-sacrificing people pleasers, or they were like staunch with like showing love. They wouldn't, they weren't soft. They weren't in their feminine either. And so it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Guys, my mouth is open as she's done that.
Yeah. It's so awesome to be able to have that clarity from all of the years of my experience of really wondering and asking and probing for those questions, because my own journey was looking into my own childhood and being like, how did I develop this? When I do taekwondo, I'm a rep netball player, I always look after myself. I exercise, I eat well, you know, everything I had was organic and vegetables. Like at that time, that was just how I learned to look after myself. And then to be diagnosed with this syndrome, I was like, what do you mean? I'm conscious of my stress management and my cortisol at that young age. I was always really interested in health. And I was like, what do you mean? And what do you mean I can't do anything about it? What do you mean here's a pharmaceutical drug, and then when you want to come back, let me poke and prod you and stab you with stuff? And like, I was like, what do you mean? And so that's really, you know, I was like a dog with a bone, and I thought, well, fuck me. If no one has the answers, then I'm going to figure it out myself. And if there's no way currently to find the way, I'm going to make a way. And I did.
Guys, I actually didn't know this. So I'm sitting here learning with you all, and this is what I love about the podcast. This is why I love getting guests in. And I didn't know that because obviously I resonated with what I resonated with, which was the fertility aspect. And honestly, like health is my highest priority. It has been since I was 22. And so when Ryan and I looked at motherhood and fatherhood for him, and we were given the IVF diagnosis because of his unsuccessful reversals.
And we'll talk to that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk. Yeah, and I'm going to be really open and honest. I asked permission from Ryan to be like, we can sort of unpack what we've already sort of unpacked with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, the first call we got on with you, we were like, Ryan and I were like in a rupture. Fuck. And we're like, welcome to the chaos, Dee. Fuck. But we can unpack that too, right? Because it's like, of course, nothing is coincidental.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is, obviously, I did not present with endo or PCOS.
Yep,
That's
correct.
not why I came to you. I came to you more for we really just want to give ourselves the best chance if we do have to do IVF, because we are praying for a miracle, you guys, obviously. But if that becomes our inevitable journey, we want to make sure we have done absolutely everything. So I didn't know that. You didn't that's unreal. In saying that, what I want to say, which is so powerful, because I wanted to say it before, but I was like, I just want your backstory first. When we just had, you know this, we just had our call with our fertility doctor, Dr. Keung. And I was shooketh, like I got on the call and everything was about me. And I'm like, brother,
what about this half?
This motherfucker that had a vasectomy, like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And it was so focused on me. And Ryan actually was like, I said on the call, he's like, I feel really bad, doctor. Like, this is, like, we're actually here because of me. And he was like, no, it's all her now, basically. And his big thing was like, you might have endo. And I was like, but I don't have endo. And he goes, but you might. And I said, but I don't. And we kind of like butted heads for a few minutes. And I go, and he goes, yeah, but I said, but I have perfect periods. Doesn't matter. And I said, no, but I know my body. Yeah, but 40% of people have it and don't know it. And that did intrigue me. So I am interested to see, because he goes, well, we're going to know when I knock you out and I harvest the eggs, in essence. I don't know how he said that, but that's the way I look at it. Egg harvesting. He said, we're going to know.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. But isn't that interesting?
It is interesting because to me, like,
because I've had some fucking issues with my mum and my dad.
Yeah, it is. And also, like, well, time will tell, and that's fair enough.
Time will tell.
I always say that, time will tell, time will tell. But for me, that's like, when you don't fit in the model, in the box, you're like, well, you don't fit here, so get in there. Get in that box. You know, sometimes it's like, well, actually, I might be a different case because everybody is different and everybody is individual and unique. That said, we are all humans, and that is what connects us all at the same time. So that is why people will go through the same deep detox protocols, because yes, we are individual, and yes, being able to tailor things to each person, you know, Ryan with scar tissue, you, I think, with iron, is the things that in my mind that I flag, and I think, okay, how is this manifesting in terms of fertility and them together and that dynamic and all that sort of stuff. But there is also that, you know, like that human component. But this is where it kind of gets tricky, and you advocate for yourself, so you're strong in that. But a lot of people, and maybe your listeners as well, don't know, okay, when there's a gray area, what do I do? And the answer is always listen to yourself, but also look to the guidance to the people who you trust, and intuitively you're like, okay, you know, maybe they are the person in the white coat and that's okay. And maybe they're not and that's okay. But it's you checking in with yourself and matching what you truly believe with your intuition is the right way to go about things, you know, and your journey is going to look like whatever your journey is meant to look like.
Yeah.
And you'll learn lessons no matter how perfect or imperfect it is. It's all meant to be exactly how it is. And if there's one thing I know about parenthood, it starts well before you even conceive. Yeah. And that is what fertility magic is about. It's about making you, it's like act as if you act as if you were a parent. And you start the healing work before they get here so that when they get here, they have a clean slate to start with their own, you know, they're going to have their own imprints of trauma and their own toxic load that they're going to start to collect and develop over time. And that's just what happens to us as humans. But the way that I see it is like, let's just give these babies a chance before they even get here. So they're not coming here with generations of physical and non-physical trauma that they've stored in their bodies because of the parents that have made them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I wish, so I'm sitting here thinking, because I'm like, I know my listeners and I know my community, and I'm like, majority of them are mothers already. And I'm like, I feel like this conversation needs to be shared so far and wide, because in my experience with women that you know, listener, that hasn't yet had a baby, because I just know the work that Ryan and I have been doing in the preconception, we called it, in essence, which was just all the hard conversations and all the healing we had to go and do, and trauma cleanup in aisle 12. And then the preconception. And now we're in preconception with you. But I do genuinely feel like these babies that will come through we've given them the best chance to come into clean bodies, no trauma. Like, I'm trying to minimize my stress. But I remember you said to me the other day when you said you checked in, we were a week in, and you said, how's it all going? And Ryan and I were sending you our podcast episode series back. But I said, really good. It's just a time piece that we're re-navigating and learning. And I don't know if I'll prompt you if you forget, but do you remember what you said to me? The homestead thing?
Oh, yeah. So
this was really key for me, you guys.
Yeah.
Because I'm a toxic, I've been in toxic masculinity my whole life, and I have pushed and I have strived and I have burned out and I've stressed and rah, 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 rah. So you said.
When you're on the fertility journey, and again, if we're acting as if, when you are pregnant and or have a newborn, you must surrender into your feminine. And your feminine is slower because you need space for a baby. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, you need space because how else are you going to be able to give the best to them? Like, you're literally raising and growing a life. Yeah. It's such a sacred, important process that, of course, it is perfectly okay to be an entrepreneur and want to make an impact in the world and all of those things. And also, there are seasons in life where we can just gear that down and just bring it back and allow ourselves to swing into the feminine, where homesteading and slowing down and being homely and cooking our meals and all of those things that actually innately for us is where we thrive in our healthy feminine. That is part of the journey. So being able to meal prep everything and cook your meals from home has lots of physical benefits, like, you know, saliva in your brain registering your cooking food, and, you know, it regulates your hunger hormones and all that sort of stuff. But also the energetic side of being able to soften and surrender and be in your feminine and slow things down and slow life down. And it helps you to figure out where in your life you don't have space yet for a baby. And having that in your face where it's like, oh, this is a burden to be able to have to do all this stuff. It's like, or is it the gift to show you where you need to clear space?
Guys, I feel emotional when you re-explain that, because it was no buts. And what had happened was, in our update to you, it was just like, we're loving it. We feel great. Ryan's a bit sad because he can't eat bags of sugar. Bags of lollies and V's. And I think he's probably detoxed a little bit more the first week. Yeah. But I said, or the only thing we're sort of really adapting to is that is this timepiece and is making, we're shopping. But it was really beautiful because we were in the kitchen cooking together when we were updating you and then listening back to your message. And when you'd said all that, we sort of looked at each other and Ryan was like, yeah, when was the last time you and I were in the kitchen together? Like it's such a practice and process for us now. Because one might be doing the dinner for that night and then, I'm doing the lunch for the next day or vice versa. And I was like, never in 2.5 years. And it is this slowing down process and it is something we prioritize and it is making space. So that was a really beautiful reflection for me.
I love that. And I love that you guys took it one level further and like, hey, I can also see the extra value it's giving as well. Like that's such a mindset of like an elite couple. Yeah. They see the value in more than just the value.
Yeah, always.
Like all that ripple and that's the whole thing. Like that's the mindset to have because especially if you think of any kind of investment, if we think about money, but we also think about a baby, all of the time and energy that you're investing or resources that you're investing into a child, is going to have a return forever. It's never going to stop. It's only going to have like a domino effect. And so it's interesting because then where you spend your focus and you hone your energy on a particular investment, one of them being a beautiful child that is a very wanted child, it changes your perception of time and priorities. Yeah.
It's huge for me. This is like the biggest work that I'm ever going to do in my life, of course. And of course. And I think this was that you have been, and this journey is like the bridge for me. And it was like, it was never going to be any other way because it's not. And so one element that we love, because Ryan's very pro like period, and he always already knew like what day of my cycle I'm on, which I loved. And it's really cute. Can I just say, Ryan has 2 sons, and the other day, like I was helping Logs with something on his phone and he had the Flow app on his phone. And I was like, Logs, is this like for like his girlfriend? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, mate, you are the king in training. So
absolutely.
It's wild to watch. Anyway, the what's it called when the influence of a dad on a son, positively or negatively.
Absolutely.
But on that, so a huge part of your program, well, I don't know, an element of the program is that we cycle sync to my cycle.
Yep.
So Ryan and I eat, or everyone that does this with you, to my cycle. And so your food plan, so it's very comprehensive. You have nutrition plans. We do enemas. I really want to talk about that.
We can talk about
that.
Great.
I'm like, Ryan's nervous about
talk about all those.
Sticking things up his bum.
As any man is, to be fair, as any man is.
And so it's very comprehensive, but I really loved this element of, oh, cool, we have to eat to my cycle. Is there a deeper reason behind that? Like because obviously I understand it from the female perspective, but what is that for him?
So what that is, of course, there has to be a map and a cycle for the woman. There's no doubt. And the way that I do it is instead of having 4 different phases that you're mapping your life to, which is like, that's what everyone on TikTok talks about for the last couple of years, and Instagram, they're like, oh, you're 4 phases. There is no need to have 4 different ways of eating and training. There's just not.
Thank you.
And for I always say, like, I'm the master of simple. I always ask myself, how can this be simpler? Can it be simpler? Because I'm a busy person, I hold a lot, and I want to be able to make things simple in my life. That's all.
Preach.
And so you can join 2 of those phases to have a half instead, because when you really look at the science and the research, there is not so much of a difference for the follicular and ovulatory phases or the luteal and menstrual phases that make things so different that it warrants 4 different types of training and eating. And so that's a given for the woman. That it must be done, especially because, your metabolism changes, the hemispheres of your brain changes, the hero hormone in each half changes. So you're kind of just trying to cater for what's happening physiologically in your body. The benefit of a man being able to cycle sync with you is twofold. Physically, it's for gut health.
Right.
Because the more
for
diversity,
him.
and you, but
Yes.
also specifically him, the more diversity that you have in terms of the foods that you're rotating, because often we can get into that cycle where we just eat the same thing all the time, the better your immune system, the stronger all the soldiers are. And the way that I explain gut health is if you have a lineup of soldiers, every single soldier, and this is like your good bacteria and your good fighters, every soldier has a certain favorite food, but it's different for everyone. And so every time you eat sweet potato, you're feeding one soldier. Every time you eat broccoli, you're feeding another soldier, you know? And so as time goes on, if you don't feed all the soldiers, they're going to die and you're only going to have 3 left. Versus you could have had 100 because of the diversity of food that you're having. So you want to keep all the soldiers strong because the more that there is, the stronger the army and the better your immune system is as a result. An immune system has a huge knock-on impact on our endocrine system. And this is a lot of the work that I do. It's the detoxification system with the immune system, digestive system, and endocrine system. And so for him, the non-physical benefit is, and he already has this, which is so beautiful and quite rare, is being able to understand where your partner is at, creates cohesion in what he expects of you and how he can support you. Men want to know how to support their woman in advance. They don't want it to be reactive. So if you can be proactive and help them, just the synergy between a man and a woman, it's just, it flows so beautifully because to feel like your man can anticipate your needs before you voice them, we feel...
It's holy.
Yeah.
It is holy. Something was highlighted to me this week by Ryan. So I am pre-period and so final like the week before, and he I was being like, he was cuddling me last night and like being all cuddly and stuff. And then he was like, all right, baby, good night. And I was like, oh, we're not okay. And I was like, oh, thank you, babe. Like, it's okay, good night. Like I was thinking like we were on. And he goes, no, baby, you're pre-period. And I was like, and he goes, you always have an emotional switch up this week every time. I was like, every time? And he goes, every time, baby. Don't you he's like coaching me on my fucking hormones. And I was like, yeah. And so I'm thinking back, I definitely have, I'll get PMSy a little bit, but not bad. And I was like, oh my God, I do pull back. Like I'm not as horny in essence. Like ultimately, like the end of the point of this conversation. And he was like, yeah, I just know that the week before your period, I'm always focused more on intimacy. And I was like, this is holy. Like I never put it together. And he goes, I can't believe you've never noticed that. And I was like, no, like to be honest. But he was like, yeah, that's like, I just know, like the week before, like this is how you are and I'm never going to push it. And I was like, holy fucking-moly.
But like how seen and felt and validated does that make you feel?
I cried.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely doing my period.
And that is and that is the magic of that partnership. And that's parenthood, right? Parenthood relies on a beautiful, strong relationship. When you guys are such a team that you can anticipate each other's needs and really actually action those things, especially when he sees it before you do, it's like, babe, don't worry, I got you. Like, I can see this. That's all good. Yeah. Like that is healthy masculine. That is support structure. Otherwise, we spin out in our toxic estrogen, you know, in our toxic feminine with chaos and no structure. And they're our structure, they're our rock, they're our base, you know, that is the healthy masculine, which Ryan is so beautifully balanced in those two things. I mean, everyone's got their shit, but he's so beautifully balanced in those. And I love that for you. It's so beautiful.
I was like, amen. I know. And people are like, let's clone him. I'm like, I wish I could. I wish I could. Yeah. On him, in essence, let's talk about enemas because I know they're coming. We're not there yet, guys.
Yeah, they're coming soon. They're coming soon.
Yep. Month 2?
Yep.
Month 2, we begin daily?
Yep.
Yeah.
So like 11 days, really.
In 11 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, in 11 days. I'm excited. See, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. I've never done this before. Is it coffee enemas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk us through it.
Yeah, sure. So there are layers actually to the detox part of Fertility Magic. And there is a supplement detox protocol and I love it. It's so effective and it's more effective than anything that I've found. And it is expensive, which is, you know, I wish it wasn't, but it's so good. And also I have found if clients are going to go through a process of healing, I want to make sure that it's one and done. it's as good as it possibly can be.
I love that.
Like we're not here to fuck spiders,
Yeah,
you know?
amen.
And so I want it done as well as possible. And the way that I've found that it works the best is by having a cleanup crew on board. And so enemas are an accelerator to healing. And the reason is, and I always explain it this way, it's like my mind works in analogies. When you're trying to clean the kitchen, if you have a shitload of stuff on the bench already, then you have to clean that up first so that you can then open the cupboards and actually deep clean stuff and take things out so that you can put it on the bench. And then when you have enough stuff on the bench, because you've been taking all this stuff out of the cupboards, then you need to go through and clean that up. And then you can take more stuff out of the cupboards so that you've done a deep clean of everything in the cupboards. And so the way that I see all of those matching and mirroring to our body is the bench is our like gut lumen, like our gut, our large intestine.
Okay.
The stuff on top of the table is the toxins. The cleanup crew that takes the stuff off the bench is the enemas.
Right.
And the cupboards are our tissues.
Right.
And so
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And you know, regular practices that I see, like detox protocols and things like that, people think that they're opening the cupboards and they're really unlocking what's in the tissues, but your body does not do that easily. It will not let go of toxins easily. And one way actually that's really helpful for people to know if they have high levels of toxicity is if they have stubborn fat. Because the one place that toxins will live if it can't get excreted out of the body, because it's so worried that it's going to go near the vital organs and our body's like, no, don't go near there. It will then have to go somewhere. And fat cells are the only cells that grow on demand. It won't go into muscle cells, it won't go into other cells. It'll go into fat cells and live in fat cells. Now, these are stored toxins, and this is different to stealth pathogens that create inflammation storms in our body in other areas and other tissues of our body, right? But stubborn weight is a really key indication that even when you're doing all the right things, like, why is this weight not quite shifting? Like, I feel like I'm a bit like, you know, a bit more pudgy than I should be. That's toxicity. So sometimes people feel good. They'll do like a Zen cleanse, or they'll do a water fast or a juice fast or a whatever, or something, and they feel really good while they're doing it. And then they stop and they feel horrendous, or maybe sometimes in the first couple of days they'll get like a bit of a flu, some Herxheimer reactions. It's because you're starting to liberate some things, you're starting to clean up, but your body's like, whoa, this is just way too much. It's not like I'm not being fully supported with all the steps and the sequences needed to be able to systematically go, nope, let's clean that off the table. Let's take out some more. Okay, we're ready. Let's clean off the table. Let's take out some more. And so for me, you know, people often say, oh, but I've done enemas and I've done supplements and I've done parasite cleanses. It's like, or I've done even, you know, cycle syncing protocols. And it's like, yeah, but you haven't done it like this.
Yeah.
And it's the sequence and the step. You know, I've been doing this for 14 years. Like, I've seen enough people make enough mistakes. I've made plenty of my own to figure out what actually works and why it's so important to have a sequence and how that layers in with other things to make it as deep a protocol as it can be and as holistic and wide a protocol as it can be, because then you're looking at physical and non-physical things as well. Like emotional trauma gets wrapped up and stored in our tissues, issues in our tissues, right? So as you start to then detox and liberate physical toxins from cells.
This is Ryan right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually unearths a lot of our old patterning, old traumas. Things come up in our life. We're triggered by things that we thought that we dealt with years, maybe decades ago, because now it's all starting to unearth finally. And this is where, with Fertility Magic especially if I'm working one-on-one and people are doing the full shebang, we are going through often emotional things that are coming up and we're helping to neutralize it and clear that out so that it doesn't become a problem, because every step of the journey, like the more triggered you get and the more things that are coming up, and we haven't spoken about this in 10 years, but you know, now this is coming up and why is this all of a sudden? It's like, actually that is all perfectly and divinely timed.
Yeah.
Because it's time to get rid of that shit.
Yeah.
For the next chapter. Because when you're creating that life, often our spirit babies are waiting for that dynamic to shift and change and that old shit to go for them to come into the dynamic that they're ready for.
Can I ask a question? There's a few, so
many questions.
As you said that then, though, I was like, But then why do these beautiful beings of light, these spirit babies, drop into like meth head bodies? Like,
I get your question because they're not 5D babies.
yeah.
They're not 5D babies.
They're just here to like fuck around and find out. And
if you really want to go deep on those kind of people that are having children, those kids are not healthy.
oh no, they're fucked. The poor little doves. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're real, and mentally a lot of the time they're not healthy.
Well, I genuinely do think, like, and I can say this because I'm a child of trauma, and I was born into trauma.
Yeah.
I was then traumatized, continued to blah blah blah. Ultimately, we are a bunch of humans, 8 billion people walking around, coming from women, which is such a gift of God, right? But ultimately, we're all a little fucked, and we're all at some point. The current ones, I do believe, and before I had met with you, and I was like, oh, I'm a 5D indigo baby believer.
Yeah, same.
And so my thing was the current society, the current civilization, all has wounds and trauma, which all stem from parenthood, like birth and your parents. So that makes sense to me, is what I'm trying to say. I'm like, yeah, okay, actually, if I unpack that myself, that checks, because I'm like, oh yeah, no, we're all fucked up walking around in war and depression and toxicity because ultimately parents were having babies from war and drugs and stress. Yeah, okay. Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah, and the other thing there, which is the flip side and the empowering side of that, is that those kids that become like, that start off with the, you know, they're either the sickest and they're the cycle breakers in their family, or they have a conscious family, they'll do the work. The work can still be done. What you're trying to avoid with fertility magic is kicking the can so far down the road that you leave all that responsibility to your unborn child when you could do something about it. Like, why wouldn't you do something about it? And the way that I see it is to work on myself is loving my child, whether they're here already or they're not here yet.
Yeah.
And so if I figured out how to do that so that not only can you fall pregnant, but you can fall pregnant with the strongest, healthiest super baby, I like to call them super babies because they're well and above the mediocre status of the average person. Why wouldn't you? Like, if you can do that and you know how to do that, or you know it's possible, why wouldn't you if you had the time?
Yeah.
And this is so interesting because even an infertility journey, I think, is just the biggest gift, because what if that journey led you to listen to this podcast and made you see the universe wouldn't let you have it any other way, because you needed to hear and understand all of this, whether you work with me or you don't. You needed to know that this is all possible, because a lot of people listening will be like, oh my God, my intuition is just like, this is just what I've been trying to tell my doctor for so long. Like, this just makes so much more sense than anything medically that I've heard before. And that is the commentary I get constantly, all the time.
Well, everything is connected.
Yeah.
Everything is connected. And energy is everything, and everything is energy, right? So we are just walking beings of light and
100%.
sound. And it always checks and makes sense to me that trauma is, of course, stuck in tissues. I find this so interesting because you have the brief and the structure, the infrastructure and the architecture of all of the physical support, which we love. And also a thing that I really liked about your program was that it was 5 months. I liked the time. I was like, that feels good for me. I was like, that actually feels like it's going to go in and get the job done.
Yeah.
For sure. And there's this huge element that you have that I don't know, and of course I know where it comes from because it's like it's you and you were born to do this, of energetics. And your like ability to see patterns and see people. It's funny because I'm sitting here with you and I'm like, the whole time I felt emotional, which I find really interesting. I'm like, there's something like just about your energy that just gets people, pierces like from your essence.
Thank you.
And I remember on the first call, I think, not the one like where we rocked up in a rupture.
Which was perfect, by the way.
It was also correct. And we knew that. And we sat there and sat in it with you about it and then by the end it was like we'd repaired and it was beautiful.
I know.
But you'd said something to Ryan and you said, I can't, and we can unpack my shit too, by all means, but you had picked up on, do you think there's an element, like straight away, and he's unpacked this more, and he even said this again last night. Yes. Holy fuck. So, which was the protection piece.
Yeah.
Do you want to say it again?
Sure.
So, and I'll preface it. So when I met Ryan, everyone, the man doesn't sleep. Like, and he thrives. Like, he was like, no, I don't need to sleep. I'm good. Like, I think the night I'd met him, he'd gotten like 3 hours sleep and then was like up with the kids and like, it's wild.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to him, I'm like, this isn't safe. This isn't healthy. And this is going to kill you. Like, you sleep. You will sleep with me. Like, this is not.
Sleep.
And
Get down.
Yeah. I fuck him to sleep. No, literally. I'm like, you will sleep. Yeah. And that's not really that commonly known or anything. And he just has always been like, no, I'm not a sleeper. Like, I don't need it. And then, yes, of course, with me, he started to sleep. He's tired. He sleeps. But we got on the call and you said.
I basically said, do you have trouble sleeping? And he said, yeah, I've never been a good sleeper. And from what I had already gathered about him, I said, does this resonate? When you're asleep, you can't protect. When you're asleep, you can't be on guard. And so if your nervous system is always dysregulated because you're kind of always stuck in fight or flight, of course you're not going to sleep because you can't protect anyone while you're asleep. And he's such a protector. He just like, you can just see it in his DNA. Like, he just fiercely wants to protect you and he wants to protect his loved ones. Like, that's very obvious and it makes total sense. Like, yeah, when you're asleep, it's like you can't do anything to fulfill that role. Yeah.
That really hit him. He got very emotional. But then it was interesting. So he's further unpacked it. And last night he was saying to me, he said, because he was being beautiful and he was just pouring love to me and saying some incredible things. And he said, and he goes, it's your ability, the way you connect with people. And we'd had some people here at the studio and he's like, watching you, the way you connect to people and rah-rah. And he said, I think I've realized, even from what Dee has said with the sleep and the connection, he said, I think it even runs deeper than that. And he said, I think I don't like even connecting with people. And he doesn't. You'll watch him. He's very shut off to most people. And he said, because the moment you are in my life, I'm your protector. And he's like, and I just don't want to exhaust myself. So, and it's true. Like, he will give the shirt off his back. He will lay his life down. Like, he is just a protector. And I was like, wow, baby. Like, you've literally cut yourself off from connection because you feel this deep need to protect.
Yeah.
So we're cleaning it up.
Yeah, that's so great. And I love hearing that because not everyone will go back, reflect, and then unpack it further and unpack it with each other. That is the whole fucking point. The whole fucking point is, if I've done my work right, I can show you a pattern and you guys figure it out together. That's what you will do in parenthood. You will figure it out together. You'll go, oh, this is my stuff. Oh, this is your stuff. Oh, what do you think of that? Oh, that makes so much sense. Hey, I also see that when I observe you do this. Oh, yeah, good point. Like, it's just observation, no judgment, and just understanding yourself better. And then figuring out, okay, what still serves me and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Get rid of what doesn't serve you. Keep what does.
Yeah.
At every stage of life, that's going to look different.
Yeah. Oh, I think, and no, I was going to say, I think this is the most important piece, right? But then I'm like, but then it's not, because I know with the enemas and the parasite cleansing and the food and the nutrition and then I was going to say sacrifice, but it's not like the commitment, the finding ourselves in the cooking and the prep and the food shopping is just so important.
Well, we are both energy and matter, and that's the only answer to that you need. We are both.
Yeah.
Both. So there's no optimal health without both addressing both of those.
Yes, right.
Particle and wave, energy and matter. We are both of those things. So both of those areas need to be addressed. And this is the thing. You'll often with fertility, people or maybe doctors and the medical system just looks at you as a physical body. But then tell them you're 99.9% energy, and what's your answer for that? What energetic work are we doing? It's like, oh, none, because I only see you as a physical body. It's like, well, yeah, that's why you're not getting amazing success rates. Like,
yeah,
Can
I ask, is there, there's a question that won't leave me alone, and I'm like, it wants to be asked. If there is a woman listening and she has had children and doesn't want any more, but just understands the conversation that we're having and knows that her child is also like worth it and that 5D baby in essence, but she knows that she has some stuff to clean up as a mother. I know the answer to this, but I want your words on it. Why, like, can she still do this program?
Of course.
Right. And is there, and what is the power to that woman that has her babies already doing something like this, like looking after her energetics and her matter?
The first answer to that is I have a protocol called Detox with Dee, which is kind of like the mirror program for Fertility Magic, and it's just for the woman. And it's not all of the layers that we go into with Fertility Magic, because there's so many more dynamics that we're working with, because there is you and him and you together. So there's more. But there is a protocol that I have that can at least step you through some of these things. And then you can just add one-on-ones with me as well to really round that off and make that holistic. As a mother, the most powerful thing that we can give our children after the fact that they're already here is having them watch us work on ourselves. We'll do it forever. We're always a work in progress. What I'm doing is cleaning up as much as we can possibly clean up we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfectly clear or perfectly emotionally balanced. Never. But we're just at a stage now in our modern world where we are loaded with so much. Now we are the generation that's got to clear it. We've got to clear it, or what's fucking next? Look at all the rates of sickness and mental health sickness as well. Like, it's just, we're getting too clogged. And so we need to just like start again, turn a new page and reset that slate. But at the same time, there's still healing that can be done on the other side of that. And the most beautiful thing is your kids watching their parents, and particularly watching their mum, recognize, not judge themselves, and just go, you know what? I'm just going to do better. I know better. I'm going to do better. That's it. Like, that's so powerful. There is nothing harmful. There's nothing bad about that situation. And the thing that a lot of mums need to hear is, got to remember, you are their source of love. You are their source of like regulation a lot of the time, especially depending on how young they are. Like, you are more so the younger that they are, their regulation. But being able to watch you do that, and then the ability that you have to become an even more evolved, higher vibing, more conscious mother, like, they're watching that process unfold. So they're learning, oh, I can do this too.
Yeah. Beautiful. I wanted to hear that, because I'm like, it's sat here the whole time and I'm like, oh, there's something in that I know women will be listening that are like, well, I've had my babies, but this all checks for me. Like, this makes so much sense. But is there a point? There's always a point, of course. And just to speak to what you said, I've never anticipated to be in the role of, I did a Q&A, I think a couple of episodes ago, and someone said, what was the hardest thing about being a stepmom? And I answered that. But stepmom was never a role I thought I would ever be in my whole life. And on that episode, I unpack how it's like, I don't still look at it as that role in essence, because they're older. But having the youngest live with that, who's 18, it's remarkable to watch him learn through watching Ryan and I.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't have to tell him anything. If he comes for me for advice, which he always does, I'll give him advice. But then that advice is coming from lived. It's never like, what I hope for you, or go eat well, and then I'm stuffing my face with ice cream every night,
Exactly right.
I'm like, well, I can share my meal plan with you, right? Like, I can teach you how to meal prep. And so it's remarkable. So I can speak with some experience now, limited, but to say, watching kids and young adults learn through osmosis and just watch you is it.
That's it. They just soak it up.
Yeah, they don't listen to what you're saying.
No.
They watch what you do.
Exactly.
And I think loving yourself as a woman and a father and a man is the most radical thing that you could ever do in your entire life. And this work of cleaning self up and becoming a clearer vessel is it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It is becoming a clearer vessel.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing. So that you light shines through a diamond with like intensity and its clarity. That's what we're trying to do. We're diamonds and we've just got some shit just popped on us.
Yeah.
And so we're just taking bit by bit by bit off because we are a diamond. That is essentially like who we are and what we are.
Yeah, I love
Can
that.
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you think, because you said that you never sort of saw yourself becoming a stepmom. If the universe was a master puppeteer and gave you that role, why have you called it in? What do you know you needed to learn, or what's it teaching you?
I mean, the specific for me, I think what it taught me, I don't know, the way that I say it to Ryan, like what I say to Ryan is that I more so feel like I never would have. Actually, here's what I say. There's two elements to it. Number one, I used to love the idea of kids, but I used to be terrified of teenage age. I was like, I can't see myself being a mother, which is very ironic to teenagers. I can't picture it past 12, like 13. It felt very foreign to me.
What did something significant happen at 13, like a rupture in your relationship with your mother that was specific at that time?
Ooh. My whole life was pretty fucked. So, I mean, specifically, I feel like probably like honestly, I would say, yeah, I would more say like I never saw like being a mum past like 11, right? And 11 was definitely.
Yeah, okay.
For sure.
Because it's almost like your brain like just clocked off. It was
Yes.
so traumatic that it just clocked off.
Yes.
That's why you can't remember what it's like. You don't have the body memory of the dynamic of being a child, being a child to a mother past that age. It's kind of like, it was like, that's too hard. That is too traumatic. I'm actually blocking that out of my brain because my nervous system actually has no idea what to do with this.
Oh, that makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
Oh.
But keep going because
Yeah,
I think I know where you're going with this and I love it. Yeah.
And then when I met Ryan and he had younger kids, like no, not younger kids, like young adults, I was going to say with tears in my eyes, I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, this is the age I love. Like you can model them and they ask interesting questions. And so I I fell in love with his kids, of course, but I was like, wow, I can do this. Like this is the age I'm going to look forward to the most when they're actually young people. And I get it now. Like the kids I'm going to nail, but this age is it. So I feel like the universe gave me that. This is what I've said to him because I could never picture myself being a mother past like 11. I was like, fuck, would I even like it? Like, am I even going to enjoy it? Like, I think, because a lot of women say like, oh, I love when they're 5 or 6 because they've got them and they're like, fuck, I hated the baby age. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been clucky for that my whole life.
Yeah.
Like these babies, but it got to like 11 and I just couldn't physically, spiritually, couldn't picture it and was a little bit like, not terrified of it, but was like, fuck, should I be a mum if I can't picture being a mum to like that age? And so then, yeah, I mean, Logs was 15 or 16, so he was like not 11.
Yeah.
But it was that age that I was like,
what do you do with one of those?
Yeah, what do you do with them? Like, ugh.
But how beautiful that the universe literally helped you fill the gap.
Yeah.
So now, looking forward, you're like, oh, okay, well, that was the only kind of thing I was stressed about. Now that I know that I've got that under control, I'm good.
And you know, it was so funny for me. And Ryan was like, this is just so you. Like when you call this in, because he knew this, was when like his youngest had come into our life. I call him Logs. When Logs would come into our life, like to live with us, it was around Schoolies week, right? I don't know if you were watching. No, you wouldn't have been following me then.
No.
Fuck. So he had his Schoolies week and he started to, because we live in the Schoolies area sort of thing.
Yeah.
The party area.
Yeah.
And so for 7 days, we became the safe house for him and his friends. So I had like 10 plus youth, young people in my home for 7 days. And it was delightful. Like I loved it. Like we were like the water station, the social life, like we were like unpacking. And I said to Ryan, because he had to go back to work, but I remember coming out of my bedroom one day, because every morning when they'd all slept over, I'd unpack the night with them. I'm like, does anyone have anything to unpack? Like, is everyone feeling okay? Did anyone make any silly decisions? And every day they would unpack with me. And then I walked out of the bedroom one morning and it was like 7 a.m. And then, because the rule was like they'd tied it, like all the beds were packed away. All the boys were sitting on the couch like soldiers. And they're like, oh, Anna, you're up. Okay, we've got some things to unpack with you. Like they were
so
waiting for the
great.
unpack.
I love it.
But I literally learned, I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
I can visualize that so vividly. I love it.
But yeah, that's fascinating. I'm really interested to see. I'm trusting that I don't, but I like looping back to finish because we're almost at the hour.
Yeah. There's so much left to talk about.
I know.
Yeah.
I will bring you back. I would love to bring you back.
Yeah.
The more we go into our own journey and what we uncover.
Yes.
Like I'm an open book. Everyone knows this.
I'll fly back up.
We will absolutely unpack more. But it's just interesting to me to loop back, like accidentally in essence. It still hit me so much what you said right at the start, and I'm interested to see where my own journey takes me on this, especially if I do, have to get eggs taken or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, praying for a miracle. I'm working with Dee. But that typically if you have endo, it is toxic. You've got an issue with essentially the mother wound. Yeah, I'd say that a mother wound.
Yes, a mother wound.
You have the mother
I would agree
wound.
with you. But it doesn't have to be your actual mom. It could be a figure in your life who was like a mom or someone who is sometimes it can also be your dad. If your dad was super feminine, so it's still the feminine energy in your life that was the one that you would say fulfilled all your mum needs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm just interested is all I'm saying. And I know that and or PCOS was the father wound in essence, or the man that obviously was like your father. And I have always been surprised. My younger sister had PCOS really bad. And I've always been almost surprised that I haven't had it.
Yeah.
And then hearing that, I'm like, how did I not?
Yeah.
But maybe I do.
Look, and there's obviously like layers to that. The possibility of that could be you just saw how like maybe decisions that she made, or you were healthier and more health conscious, so you didn't experience those things. But if you still have those wounds, there is still that tendency or that predisposition that when you're out of balance, that could be your kind of trauma territory. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not always all the
definitely
time.
makes sense.
Yeah. It's not so like black and white. We're so complex as humans and all the things that we do and decide to do, and, energetics and relationships. Like you seem to have called in Ryan, who sounds like, from what I understand of you just being like, I have just a fucked up history, just the perfect balance of what you've always needed and always looked for. He's protective, but he's feminine. He listens, but he can kill someone for you,
Yeah, like, literally.
So, and it's so beautiful that you've attracted that in,
But, and I say, and I've done an episode on this, that came from, because you don't know my history. Yeah, we'll have to do another episode.
Yeah.
No, and that came from, I'm Anna, like, so your thing, like A-type personality, really successful, like ticked all the boxes, was Anna. Like Anna, as everyone knows Anna, got divorced at 33 and then got into my next relationship was a toxic, violent narcissist. And so who pretty much tried to kill me, like split my face open, split my lip, violent. Like I've got a VRO out against him. I'm going to tell that story. I've got a DV expert coming in to unpack that story with me.
Wow.
And when that happened, a psychologist saved my life, I say, like a coach. A coach had saved my life because I was with her. I was working with her because I went to her because I was like, why am I with this piece of shit loser?
Yeah.
Why can't I leave? Like I'm trying to leave, but I have this like attachment to him. So I went to a site, like I hired a coach, spent a lot of money, and she was like, oh, darling, you just have, so I was 34. 4, 5, 6, 3 years ago, and was like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I like this? Yep. And I was with him at the time, still trying to leave, like desperate, kicking him out every day or trying to. And she was like, oh, you've got wounds. Like, and that was, and cue the most important work of my life. Then I had to do all 6 months of like, I just went in deep, went in dark, went in hard.
Yeah.
And And that's when I addressed, I was like, oh, fuck, what's a mother wound? I had like core wounds, mother wound, father wound, abandonment wound. And I faced them all, healed them all. There'll still be some residue, I'm sure.
There's still one in the arm, one of the.
I'm sure there's a little bit of trauma in the tissue. But I had definitely, because I'd processed everything else. I'd healed all the other things. And so, and then and she really worked on magnetizing the king. That was a lot of the work we did with her. Beautiful. And that's when I met Ryan.
Yeah.
Only after I had addressed, I was dating like avoidant men and
I guess because you're trained to know what to look for. Because otherwise you don't really know. You just kind of fall into the patterns of what feels familiar.
Correct. Because your nervous system safety is like, avoidance.
Even if it's fucked,
correct.
It's still familiar.
Correct.
And our body will always choose safety over unfamiliar.
And then this safe king came along. And let me tell you, even that was work in the beginning. And he's talked about that. He was like it was easy to love you, but you were trying to make it hard because your nervous system wasn't used to me. And I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I got him.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. There's more. There's
so much.
More. All right. Well, it is on the hour, literally on the hour.
Oh, wow.
But I will bring you back. We will unpack so much more. I think what I would love to do, if it's okay, is use us as a case study, which I'm going to do. Because like if it's not with you, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I'll unpack things that have come up for us and because I think it just matters. And I think it's so powerful for people to hear and see like, wow, like it's very vulnerable and we won't share it all, but I'm just saying like elements of our own journey with you. And so it will be powerful. Actually, we'll get fucking Ryan on next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Oh man, I have so many if we could go into like a hardcore session,
let's do
live
it.
on the podcast.
Let's do it.
I want to.
I'll cry.
Ryan will probably cry.
Well, let's do that. He's always keen. So we'll do that. When you come back, we'll be a few months in. He'll have stuck things up his bum for his coffee enemas.
Yeah, great. So we can unpack that.
He can unpack that. And then we'll do a session on the couch live. You guys, I'm excited.
Me too.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, my love. We will bring you back. You'll be probably a very common guest on the podcast because I love health. I love health. I love fertility. I love money. And I just think all of it is so fucking connected. And you're a beautiful example of all of those things. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys, if you liked this episode, if you think that this would resonate with any other woman in your life, please share it because I know from doing this work personally, this is the power of having guests on that are intertwined in my own life. This has not come from just a couch conversation. This is a woman I'm bringing in who's literally a coach in my life at the moment. So share it far and wide, share it with women that need to hear this message, hear this episode that have been struggling with fertility or their health in general or their hormones, because I know that when they can unlock this piece in their life, they can unlock their life. Until next time, as always, stay wild. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Anything Goes. And if today's episode gave you maybe a new perspective, a little bit of a laugh, you learned something new, or just loved our trip to Taboo Town if we went there, it would honestly mean the world to me if you could leave me some love with writing a review and sharing this episode to your socials. You have no idea how much that helps my little podcast get out in the world. If you love what you gain from these conversations weekly with me as well and want more than just listening in, come and join my inner circle. It's my monthly mastermind where for just $47 a month, the real magic happens. You get me up close, no filter, live coaching. And if you get what you get from this free podcast, imagine what you get in a paid container. Links are in the show notes, friends. And until next time, stay wild.